It's time to talk LSU baseball with Mike Scarborough and Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball. This is Batter Up.
Let me start over again since I was muted. Big show this week. Kendall Rogers in the house with D1 Baseball, and obviously LSU travels to College Station at Texas A&M after winning 2 out of 3 from the Vols. Texas A&M gave Texas fits. That was, you might look at the who won that series, and but A&M actually played good last weekend. This is going to be a pivotal series, Kendall.
Oh,
there you are.
Let's start with the weekend that LSU had against Tennessee. For the first 7, 8 innings against Liam Doyle in Tennessee, I mean, it looked like it was going to be Tennessee's night. I mean, Doyle was in the zone. He was pounding the zone with his fastball, had good feel for his off-speed stuff. You just felt like it wasn't LSU's night. But you and I talked about it. It's different for a team like Tennessee when they go to the box. It doesn't matter if it's 1 a.m. or if it's 7 p.m. If you give LSU any oxygen at that ballpark, they, more often than not, they're going to make you pay. And, Dean Curley with a couple of those errors there in the 9th inning give LSU a little bit of life. One thing leads to another. Earlier in the game, people kind of forget about it now, but earlier in the game, in that Friday game, they struck out, Jared Jones on a 97-mile-an-hour heater. And I think they kind of thought, like, hey, he's not in the zone right now. Let's see if we can get that heater past him again. It didn't turn out so well for him this time. So what a finish that was. And, give Tennessee a little bit of credit for the way they responded on Saturday. I thought Marcus Phillips threw really well. And then again, on the flip side, give LSU a ton of credit by the way it responded on Sunday. I love the idea of starting Casey Evans the first inning. I wasn't sure it was the best idea because it's like he looked very shaky, but you can't say enough positive things about the job that he did the rest of the way. So, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. But, yeah, I thought the way LSU played in that final game was really impressive. For A&M, that is a weekend for them that had to be pretty frustrating. I mean, their starting pitching, performed at a high level against a really gritty Texas, lineup that'll just wear you out. They're offensively, they got some hits, but I think they had one hit. I think they were like 1 for 18 or 1 for 19 with runners in scoring position in the 3 games. It's hard to win games like that on the road. And, A&M in all 3 games had the tying run at second or third and had the winning run on base. So it just gives you an idea in this conference how small those margins can be and how small those margins are in a rivalry series like that. So I would imagine LSU, given A&M's situation, had A&M won one game, there wouldn't be quite as much urgency this weekend. But after they won just one game over the weekend, this is a massive series for both teams, but especially A&M, because I think if you win the LSU series, you're probably sweeping Missouri. You're in. Like there's no question about it. You lose the LSU series or you get swept. I mean, you have to win some games in Athens or in Hoover to make the tournament.
Well, and look, the whole thing for LSU is to be a top 8 national seed. Yep. We know what the rankings are right now. But that's not how your seeding goes. But I mean, what kind of collapse would LSU have at this point and to not be a top 8 national seed?
Yeah, I think they would have to lose 2 of their last 3 series and probably have a quick exit in Hoover. I think if that happened, I think it'd be fringe. I think they'd probably honestly still be a top 8. The really interesting thing right now is there are not really a lot of contenders. This week we ended up having UC Irvine as our 8. LSU obviously is very high on our list. But UC Irvine being our 8 just gives you an idea how, I wouldn't say weak is the right word, but how non-competitive that race for the top 8s are. But as we've seen, I mean, the postseason picture can change just in a snap. I mean, you could have somebody go out and get a big sweep that all of a sudden their fortunes change. I mean, UCI is a prime example. They sweep Cal Poly on the road. We didn't have them as a host last week. All of a sudden, they're the number 8 national seed. So that gives you an idea how quickly things can change postseason-wise. But even with a series loss this weekend, they're still a top 8. I just think, it then makes Arkansas one of those series that if you're the Tigers, you want to protect your home turf.
Let me ask you this, going back to something earlier. What was it like from your vantage point that ninth inning Friday night? I don't know what the actual crowd attendance was at 1:15 in the morning, but on TV and all the clips, it sure sounded loud. And those a lot of students, obviously, and a lot of them had some adult.
Yeah, the rally arrest in the right field bleachers.
Yes.
Which, by the way, the guy apparently didn't do anything, but Reese Chapman said he did, so they just threw him out anyway.
Yeah. So, but what was it from your vantage point? What was that like? That
it was
moment?
all, man. You know, there are moments that when I cover the sport that I always kind of remember, and one of them. Speaking of LSU fans, one of them I kind of remember is that game in the SEC tournament a few years ago where the Tigers were playing Florida at like 2 a.m. If you remember, they stopped the game because of fog at like 2 a.m. and they came back at like 8:30 in the morning to continue that game. So one of the things I remember from that game is at like 2 o'clock in the morning, like, the LSU fans had partied during the rain delay. And like there's like a conga line going across the Hoover Met at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I feel like a lot of these late night memories I have in college baseball are related to LSU. But, in that situation, that setting, I had the box. I rated the box last week as like the top ballpark for me for a big series and, the postseason. And that was a prime example. There might have been 5,000-6,000 people in the stands out of 11,000 that the box can hold, but it sounded like it was 10. Like those people, even at 1:15 in the morning, they were engaged, they were loud, they were rowdy. And to have a team melt down like that when the stadium is half full is pretty impressive. And so, again, I kind of go back to just that place can just eat you alive if you don't let it. And not only does it pertain to the opposing team, we've seen that be tough for there were times in the Monero that became a little much for him.
I want to ask you this, and look, it's not like I have Tennessee baseball as my destination every weekend, but obviously it got a little chippy between some of the players throughout the weekend. But Tony Vitello, has he mellowed?
He has.
I watch all this post game. In the dugout, he basically just sits there, and I don't know if he's daydreaming or kind of stoic. Is he not the same guy that he was 3 years ago? Because I don't know. There's no red meat that he's throwing out there, really. I watched all his post games. We posted them with all our post game stuff.
Well, what's really interesting is, so I go back to a couple of years ago I don't want to get my facts wrong on this. It was either during or after the 2022 season. Obviously, that was the year that you had Jordan Beck flipping someone off, Drew Gilbert damn near starting a brawl every game. And I want to say that Greg Sankey actually went to Knoxville to meet with Tony, like, hey, like this cannot happen. It was after he bumped the umpire, if you remember. And and Sankey got involved. It was like, listen, like, I'm not telling you guys you can't have fun, but like we got to get a little control over this. And, he honestly started being different after that. But it's funny, and I think back to Mike Bianco to some degree after he won the national championship, is it felt like after Mike Bianco won the national championship, he went from, like, to me, let's be honest, like in some big game situations, a little nervous to really laid back, not only with guys like me as a media, but just in general, just every day running the program. And I kind of feel like Tony, after winning the national championship, I'm not saying he's taken a step back. I'm not saying he's not as hard-nosed. But there's a little bit different perspective. Like you've accomplished your life goal at such a young age. Maybe he feels like he doesn't have to be out there yelling all the time and things like that.
Yeah, I just feel like he's less in the news. Like he's less that guy.
There was a moment. I don't know if you remember this or not over the weekend. I want to say it was a Friday game. There was a moment where he like stormed out of the dugout to do a pitching change and yapped at the umpire. And it was almost like when right in the moment of him yapping, like he kind of stopped himself. 3 years ago, he was not stopping himself. It was like 0 to 70. Let's hit the throttle, the accelerator. Now he hits the brake whenever it gets to a certain degree.
Before we get to a commercial break and our sponsor, Kenny Haines, Kason Evans, how big was that on Sunday? And how big is that for if that's what you're going to get out of him the rest of the way and how he gets utilized? I laughed a little while ago. We got Ben Beatty's release and probable pitching matchups.
TBA,
and of course, TBA again for LSU. But you get all three of them for Texas A&M. And so, but how big is that from Evans? And that was a treat to watch. I can tell you that on Sunday.
Yeah, he's special. And by the way, he also looks a lot like Tony. It's kind of funny. Somebody said something to me. I didn't even think about it. Like, I've never.
Well, it was me that asked him when we did the comparison. I said, well, and this was like 3 weeks ago. I said, well, in a couple of weeks they're coming to town. Would you like to get a selfie with him? And he goes, probably not. And they used that clip on the telecast.
I doubt Tony probably asked him for one after Sunday, but that would have
been fun. They should have done it. That would have been fun.
Yeah, they should have done it during pregame. I think it's big because I think if you look at LSU, and I'll just jump right into it. I think if you're Jay Johnson, like, he's my Sunday guy, because here's my thing. I get it. I saw the discussion in my Twitter mentions or X mentions from LSU fans. Oh, he's too valuable in the bullpen. I get that, and I get that Zach Cowan's very valuable in the bullpen. But when you get in the postseason, like, you need 3 starters. Guess what? You're not winning the national championship if you have 2 relievers that you can rely on, and that's it. It's just really hard to win the national championship. So what I would do if I'm Jay, especially now that you at least have a little bit of flexibility, I'll start casing Evans, and I hope some guys emerge out of the bullpen. There's plenty of talent there in the bullpen that can emerge.
I mean, how much this depends on, how far Anderson goes on Friday night, what the score of your Saturday game is late in the game, and how many pitches if you use Cowan the night before. And you won the Friday night game, and then you got the second night game, and you're in the 8th inning, and you're up, by 1 or 2 runs. Are you thinking, I think we can get by, and then have Evans on to get the sweep on Sunday, or do I bring Evans out now and absolutely get this second game and not even worry about the sweep?
Yeah. It's a tough it's a struggle to kind of figure out what you want to do there, and that's why Jay's making the money he's making. But I think for me, just personally speaking, I'm one of those guys. I feel like you want to have a pretty set rotation going the postseason, and I also, and granted, Evans looks like a guy that is very much mature beyond his years, but I also don't like the idea of taking a freshman and him not really knowing what his role is going to be for the weekend. I feel like that's a lot. To go, like, hell, I may come out on Saturday in the 5th inning, or I might start tomorrow. I may have to spend all night thinking about, my start tomorrow in College Station. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I think Jay certainly knows what he's doing.
Whether it's the Super or Omaha, if you lose a game, to know that you've got that guy now.
No, there's no question. He can handle the moment. That he can handle it. And that's, maybe that was why he kind of threw him out there. Maybe he had no plans and definitely making him the 3rd starter. Maybe he just wanted to see if he can handle it. And obviously he passed that test.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's hear from Kenny.
Kenny Haines is a proud 1989 graduate of LSU Law School with a passion for justice. Kenny stands out as the only lawyer in the state, board certified in both appellate practice and family law. Drawing from 34 years of trial experience, Kenny has navigated the most complex aspects of real people's lives. If you need help in Northwest Louisiana with a family issue, legal issue, or a highly skilled trial attorney, call Kenny, 318-222-2100.
And Kenny is Johnny on the spot because usually he submits a question or 2 for you. And when we started recording, he hadn't sent them yet, but he sent them right in the middle of us. He says, have you seen another player in the NCAA comparable to Derek Curiel as a freshman?
Ooh.
And by the way, I'll add on to that because we've had the discussion, which freshman at LSU has been better than him in history? Do you have to go to Todd Walker? And then what's the debate there?
Probably Todd, but Todd's way before my time. I was 10 years old when Todd played.
There you go.
So I don't remember.
But you were there for the Ben McDonald game.
I mean, at that time I was, to not make Ben feel too old if he watches this, but I was 6 years old when Ben shut down the Aggies in Omaha. But I think I've told this story before. But I used to tell Todd back when I didn't know him quite as well as I do now that he broke my heart in '93. When he hit that grand slam against A&M. That was like their year And at like 11:30 at night, Todd hits that grand slam. I remember being so mad as a kid. But yeah, you have to go. I mean, I was trying to think back to like a freshman that has been that good. Actually, since they're playing A&M this weekend, the guy that I probably bring up, by the way, he's a big leaguer, Braden Shoemake for A&M back a few years ago. His first year in the SEC, he hit 11 homers, 18 doubles, and 69 RBIs as a freshman. That's the last guy. And by the way, Braden Shoemake was really good. He's not Derek Curiel. Curiel's more consistent. And the scary thing too is I was talking to Jay about this the other day. The scary thing about Curiel is he hasn't even started a serious off-season training program in the weight room.
That's what I said last night.
I mean, wait till they get that dude in there doing squats and getting those biceps up a little bit in the offseason. He's going to be an absolute monster next year.
Yeah, and that, I said that last night. What is he going to be like in a year or two as his body matures? And like you said, he's already, the football facility is just over the back fence, and they've got that nutritional center in there at that cafeteria where they're carving roast beef, and I think their food cost is like $30,000 a day. Legit, I think it's 30 grand a day.
I'm trying to think of like a really good comp for him. I mean, Shoemake is definitely not a comp. I don't know, man. Like, it almost kind of reminds.
I wonder what Todd Walker would say. I wonder how Todd Walker would answer that question. I told Buddy Sanji next time he has him on to ask him, how would you compare with Curiel now to you?
Yeah, do that, and I'll tell you what I'll do for my homework is I'll talk to our guy David Seifert, our prospect writer. He was a national cross checker for the Phillies for like 10 years. He's always great with comps, so I'll think about that one and see what his comp for Curiel is.
His other question says is if LSU takes either one or two games from A&M this weekend, are the Aggies done?
If they take 2 games from A&M is going to have to win the Georgia series. Because I just don't think, and it shouldn't, sweeping Missouri is just not going to mean very much, especially when they're not going to win a single conference game more than likely, unless they beat Mississippi State one of their games here in a couple weekends in Columbia. So, if they lose 2 games this weekend, they're in trouble. Which is the finality of A&M is really interesting. That is a team that I could see getting to Omaha, and that's a team I could see not even making the postseason. Like, that's how far their finishing point is this year.
And what's your prediction for the weekend?
I will actually surprise you a little bit. I think with their urgency that they have, they've got to win this game this weekend. I actually like A&M at home. I don't feel ultra confident about that, but I mean, they're in a situation where they have to win the series. I think LSU is in a situation to where as long as they go back home and protect the box for Arkansas, they're fine. So that's kind of where my thinking is on that one.
I thought I was going to get you in a gotcha last night on Tiger Bait Live. I said, don't tell Kendall, but I watched him on TexAgs this morning or yesterday, and he predicted the Aggies. I'm going to ask him the same question tomorrow, and if he says LSU, then we're going to know he's playing to 2 different markets.
Yeah, just not that anybody actually cares that cares or thinks that I'm an actual homer. But just so you know, I did pick Texas to win that series last weekend. I was pretty.
No, I know you are not a homer. I know you're not. I like to kid you. You are absolutely not a homer. In fact, Sanji predicts A&M to win 2 out of 3 this weekend, and it's going to be tough. I don't know which way to go. I can see it both ways.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, the thing that LSU fans have to realize is they're going to look at the series, and if they lose 2 out of 3, they're going to go, "Oh, how the hell did we lose a series to the 12th or 13th place team in the league?" But this is not, like, in terms of talent and the way they're playing now, is not the 12th or 13th best team in the league.
No, they're not. They're very good. Gave Texas fits all last weekend. It doesn't show it in the standings, but and their talent is showing through. And this is going to be an uphill battle. Like you said, back against the wall. I mean, it's make or break. And so if they don't, you're saying that's in Athens next week, right?
So A&M has LSU at home this weekend, Missouri at home, and then at Athens.
At Athens, okay, all right.
Yeah, and weather. By the way, weather is going to play a part this weekend. I think tomorrow night they've got like a 80% chance of severe, like very severe storms from like 6 to 9 o'clock tomorrow night. So it would not shock me if we see a doubleheader on Saturday. I was talking to Jay yesterday. He suggested them move the game time up tomorrow to 2 p.m., which I was like, oh, of course you would want that game at 2 p.m. tomorrow there.
Was he laughing when he said
that?
Oh,
yeah, he loved it. He thought it was hilarious. But, yeah, it'll be interesting. Hey, I don't care as long as we don't play at 10:30 at night.
Yeah. One last one from Kenny says, if LSU keeps its freshmen, what does this team do in 2 years when they were all juniors, assuming they're all healthy?
Yeah, they're going to do big things because you know that Jay is going to go in the portal and kind of they've got really good freshman class coming in next year, but you know he's also going to go in the portal and fill in the holes quite nicely over the next couple of summers. So yeah, I mean this year with this team, I almost feel a little bit like this is an appetizer for even bigger things. So you know if they find a way to win the national championship this year, it's almost like icing on the cake because this is a class that most definitely that will be the like bona fide expectation for this class the next couple of seasons.
Okay, real quick before I get you out of here, the new SEC tournament format. Do you like it? Have you got any feedback from other coaches?
I hate it. I hate it, and here's why.
Okay.
I'll make this LSU related. You know, LSU always travels really well to Hoover. You know, when LSU plays games there, they've got 7,000 people. If you're a fan, like, why are you going to Hoover for potentially one game? And so I just think from a fan standpoint, it really diminishes the value of needing to go to the conference tournament, which, by the way, the conference tournament is literally just designed to make money. The SEC tournament, very few teams are getting in the tournament because of the SEC tournament. So if it's there essentially to make money and to get extra games, then it should be 100% fan oriented. And it's not right now, or with this format.
Is the rationale for this, and I might be totally uneducated and looking at it the wrong way, but without studying it or seeing why they did this, but is it because they know what the seeding is in the NCAA tournament bids, and they feel like they can get away with this, and they don't need to have anything more than single elimination? You can get every team in there and maybe sneak in an extra team into the tournament.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, I think they just like having everybody have a chance to win something.
Yeah. All right. I'm assuming you're going to be – by the way, I'm assuming they'll be hanging off the rafters at Bluebell, right? I mean, that's – the fans have, despite not having the season that was expected, the fans are going to be crazy this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, they still – I mean, even like their series against South Carolina a couple weeks ago, I want to say they still sold out 2 of the 3 games. So, yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. The question is, you know, just when are they going to play? I mean, Sunday looks great and Saturday looks fine, but I would be a little surprised right now if they're playing baseball tomorrow night.
By the way, would it be a name Bluebell? Is there like Bluebell ice cream all over in there for the fans?
I think there is. You know, they used to have
the media will have like ice cream sandwiches up there for the media.
Like a Bluebell cooler, and they just like stopped filling it up. So I think people were literally like taking it with, like eating one in the press box and then taking one home with them. So they were going for like 8 boxes a weekend. So yeah, not real cost effective.
Yeah. I could see you stuffing about 6 ice cream sandwiches in your backpack.
10 years ago, yeah. These days, man, I'm getting old. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. All right, Kendall. Promote D1 baseball. What you've got and the code, the promo.
Yeah, man. Omaha 30, you get 30% off an annual. Obviously, we have a lot of LSU coverage this weekend. We had a lot last weekend, and chances are pretty good we'll have a lot the rest of the year. So. Yeah, looking forward to the weekend. And, I mean, we're only 4 weekends away from the SEC tournament. It's kind of hard to believe. We're already there 3 weekends away from the SEC tournament. I can't believe we're already this close. But the postseason is right around the corner, man.
All right, Kendall. Talk next week, man. Good stuff.
Good. Thank you.
Later.
See you.
Bet.